Hello, everyone. Good morning. Just want to have a quick question if you can hear me or not. If somebody can just give me a thumbs up, just making sure that you can hear me. Awesome. Nope. Can't quite tell yet. Okay. Yes, thank you. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. I just needed to scroll along the boxes a little bit more. So thank you. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me this morning for yoga. And now more than ever, we need to be doing things that make us feel good. So I am so happy that you're all here. Hopefully yoga makes you feel good. We are going to move around today. We're going to start off with some significant movement, and then we're going to bring it down and cool it down to the end. And we're actually going to, depending on how time works, we may even have a couple seconds available to do a very short breathing meditation. And hopefully that will help us start our day on a perfect note. So please lie down on your backs. Oh yes, a couple of things. Just having a block available. We're going to need that for sure. And if you are playing along to your favorite playlist, press play now. It can be slow or fast, it doesn't matter. You can skip the song and find a better one as time goes on, but anything to make you smile, anything to keep you motivated, anything to keep you here and moving, that's what we want to do. So lying down on your backs, I'm just going to stay upright a little bit longer just to let a couple more people in as that happens. But you guys are going to stretch out with your arms over your head. Big, delicious breath in through your nose and out through your mouth this time. Don't always say that off the bat. Do that a couple more times. You might want to interlace your fingers. Start to bend over to one side. Bend over to the opposite side. Switch the lacing of your fingers, and now just do that exact same thing, but you just feel a little bit different because your fingers are interconnected a little differently. And then over to the other side. And then back to center. Let's stretch our arms away from the body, and I want you to reach through your fingers. And again, you guys are lying on the ground. I'm just sitting up so I can just see the computer a little bit longer and see if there's anyone else who'll join. Stretching through your fingers, pull your shoulders back, maybe even sparkle your fingers out a little bit. Do whatever that means to you. Sparkle them out. If it makes you smile, do it. And we're going to turn and look towards the right side. Again, you're still on your back. And I want you to stretch a little bit more through your left hand. So it's like your left arm is as if someone is like magically pulling it and lengthening it a little bit further. So you're turning, stretching, and then come back to center. We're going to do the same thing over to the opposite side. You're going to pull a little bit more, stretching, stretching, stretching as you're looking away from that arm that you're pulling. Again, you are lying on your back. I'm just staying upright a little bit longer. And then come back to center. And then turn your palms to face down. See how that feels. If your arms are kind of floating or one hand floating up in the air a little bit because of tightness, that's okay. We're going to try and make that go away. Again, relaxing back, reaching through your fingers. And now this time, I want you to open up your mouth nice and wide, and you're going to roll your bottom jaw around, just hinge it from side to side. Again, you're lying on your back, arms are stretched away, pulling your chest open. So we're trying to have two things happening here. First, you're trying to stretch open your chest. Hopefully that feels nice. It feels good. It doesn't feel like you're, stressed and collapsed and crunched. You're opening up. You're able to breathe more deeply. And secondly, you're moving your bottom jaw around so that you can try to release any tension or tightness that maybe you've been holding, maybe because you grind your teeth while you sleep, or maybe you've just been clenching your jaw, which is very normal. All right, last moment. And then bring your arms alongside your body. I'm going to transition now to also lie down on my back. And I'd like you please to bring your knees into your chest. So hug your knees into your chest. Start to maybe roll from side to side. Again, if you just If you just joined, I mentioned at the beginning, if you can just have a block or a book available to you, because we're going to use that a little bit later on. But if you don't have one, that's okay, because you have your body. So we are just rocking from side to side, maybe pulling your knees wider apart. I'm going to cue up my own playlist here that seemed to have accidentally stopped. So remember, you might be playing your favorite music along, accompanying this class. Who knows? Maybe you're not. Maybe your favorite thing is to have no music. That's okay too. And from here, I'd like you to stretch both of your legs up in the air. Please start to squeeze and release your toes. Point and flex your feet. Massage the backs of your beautiful legs. Give them some love. Maybe you want to pull your legs in a little bit closer and see how that feels. Maybe you want to release them and sort of let them have a big bend. Whatever feels good. Let's take another couple of breaths. If you feel like the reason would overtake you to do this, bring your legs out into a V. Maybe point and flex your feet a couple of times. It can feel nice, give you a stretch in the inside of the legs. We'll bring the legs back up. Let's take a couple more breaths here, maybe continuing to just get into the ankles. Maybe you feel it quite, your hamstrings are really tight today. Whatever area you feel, just focus on stretching that out a little bit more, just a tiny bit more. We're going to bring our legs down to the ground, and I'd like you to bring your feet hip distance apart. Your heels are close enough that you can just stretch your arms and touch the backs of them. Arms are alongside the body. Let's lift up the hips. Get a nice stretch in the top of the body. And lower back down. We'll do that again. Inhale, lifting up, breathing in as you lift up your hips. And then exhale, lowering down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lifting up. Let's hold here for an extra moment. Take another breath into your belly. Let's feel your belly expand and contract. One more time, expand. And then as you exhale, lower back down. Stretch both your legs out. Give them a second just to sort of shake out and release again. We're going to bend our left knee in. Pull your left knee into your belly. I want you to squeeze it right into your belly to start with, so you feel your low back pressing into the ground. And now pull your knee in more towards your left armpit. So now you're compressing the side of your body. Should feel, hopefully you feel a very significant pull in your hip, maybe right at the hip socket, you feel it there. Maybe you feel it more around the muscles coming away from that area. Come back to center. We're going to keep our leg in the middle. Grab your knee with your right hand and pull your leg across the body. As much as is available to you right now, I know we're just warming up. You can take your left arm and stretch it away from you. Breathe into your heart. Big breath in, big breath out. Let's do that one more time. Come all the way back. We're going to stretch that left leg out, give a little shake, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. Right knee comes in, pulling it right into the belly first, pushing your back into the ground. And now pull your knee in more towards your right shoulder, your right armpit, compressing the side of the body. Again, you're feeling like that deep stretch, that deep pull on your hip. It should not feel like you can fall asleep like this. It should feel like intense. Take another breath. And then we're going to soften the pull on the leg, bringing it sort of back to the center of the belly. Left hand on your knee, bring your leg across the body. Maybe stretch that right arm away from you. Let's take another breath. And we'll come all the way back. Stretch your legs out again, bring your arms over your head, grab onto your left wrist, pull over to the right side. I want you to pull into your underarm the outside or the underside of the left arm. You're stretching into your ribs. Check in with your jaw again. Make sure you're not clenching your teeth. Come back to center. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Just kind of opening up the side body one more time. And back to center. We are going to hug our knees into our chest. And actually, you know what? Maybe we'll just start off with a little bit of activity here. Have your knees over your hips. Take your hands, bring them behind your head. You can lift your head and shoulders off of the ground and hold yourself here. You can let your head rest in your hands. Of course, if this hurts your head or your neck at all, bring your head down to the ground, and we'll just extend the right leg forward and the left leg forward. And let's just, maybe we'll move into a little faster pace here, just alternating. Lift up a little bit higher. You're keeping your throat open. Remember, you rest anytime you want to, but this is just waking up the core. Absolutely. Even the motion is opening up the legs a little bit more. Keep your elbows open nice and wide. Lift up a little bit higher through your head and shoulders if you can. Remember, you can always be sort of cradling the head and the hands. The arms and the hands are absorbing some of the weight, so it's not all in the neck. Let's stay here. Maybe you're listening to a good song right now and you want to hang out a little longer doing this. Maybe your song is super slow and you're like, why am I doing this right now? But let's stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And amazing. Bring your head down, hug your knees into your chest. Maybe we'll pull the knees wider apart here and just get a nice stretch in your low back. Some of you might feel like it's available to take happy baby right now. Go for it if you want. And from here, we are going to bring the legs together. Roll yourself up to a seated position or push yourself to one side and lift yourself up, whatever works for your body. Lift yourself all the way up into a seated position. We are going to come up right away onto our knees. So I'd like you please to take your right leg and stretch it away from the body with your toes pointing forward. So here's where you may want your prop. This is an option, of course, just to have it here. We're going to eventually put our hand on it. We're just going to take a pose called gate pose. This is a really lovely opening, clearing, getting rid of junk pose, right? If you're carrying junk around with you right now, this pose is for you. Let your right hand rest on your leg. Take your left arm up and just start to bend. Draw your abdominal muscles in. Feel that lengthening up the left side. My right hand is resting just very lightly on the outside of the leg. Come all the way back up. We're going to take the left hand, bringing it to the ground or to your prop. So it's up to you. So try to have your hand underneath your shoulder. Take your right arm up. I'm still extending through my right leg, just like I did before. And we're going to stretch. So pull your body nice and long here. Stretch it out. Maybe even looking up to the ceiling. These are all options for you. If you feel some discomfort on your knee, you can always roll up your mat and have a little extra padding, or of course, get a towel or a blanket to put underneath your knee. Hi, Rosie. Good morning. And we'll come back, knees on the ground, and we're going to take the left leg and stretch it out. Rosie had to give me a very delicious slurpy lick. That was kind of gross, but hey. Left toes pointing forward. My hand is resting lightly on my leg. My right arm comes up, and now I'm going to side bend. So gate pose, opening up laterally in the body. You're feeling some stretch in the inseam of the leg. Pulling your ribs further away from your hips. Let's take another breath. Try not to have shallow breaths here. And we'll come back down, maybe using your prop under your hand. Remember, your hand is under your shoulder. Keep your toes pointing forward, left arm up, and now stretch. If you are holding junk in your body, junk and stuff and just baloney that you don't want anymore, pull it out right now with these stretches. Just inhale it and exhale it out of your body. Hopefully you're feeling like you can breathe nice and easily, or with more ease, not nice and easily. I think that's a completely grammatically wrong thing to say. Oh, it's so good that I'm being recorded and this will be here captured forever. Come all the way up and bring your left leg in. And we are going to bring ourselves forward Hands underneath the shoulders, fingers spread nice and wide. Or pardon me, not hands underneath the shoulders. Hands are shoulder distance apart. What am I saying? Hands are shoulder distance apart. Your hands are approximately under your face or your chin. Curl your toes under, bring yourself up into downward facing dog. Pardon me. Start to pedal out your legs. And of course, if this is not good for you, you don't want to be taking downward dog. This is where I was going with it. You could take tabletop with your hands under your shoulders and stretch one leg back at a time, just so that you release your knees. Downward facing dog. Let's pedal out the legs. Shake out your head. If you are listening to a good song right now, give yourself a little dance. It's entirely your call. The good thing is, you can do this in the privacy of your own virtual studio. Let's take another big breath. Keep your finger pads pressing into the ground, of course, if you're in downward facing dog. You are in tabletop, extending one leg back at a time. You can continue to do that until you feel like your knees have released. We are going to take 5 more breaths. Downward dog, people, maybe you want to come up on your tiptoes, push your tailbone up towards the ceiling and sink down through your heels any amount. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, sinking down through your heels any amount. Okay, we are going to come down. Let's come down into wide knees child's pose, reminding ourselves that this is a great position to be in if you just need to recharge, if you need a nice stretch through your low back. Nice big breath. Let's walk our hands over to the right side. Walk your hands over to the left side. And we'll come back to center, and we are going to start to move around a little bit more. Let's walk our hands and feet closer together. So coming up into downward dog, walking your hands and feet closer together. You can be in the middle of the mat, that's okay. Take a standing forward fold here. I want you to heavily rest your belly on your thighs so your knees can be super bent. Your fingers might be almost touching the ground, or maybe they easily touch the ground. It does not matter, because you are just focusing on stretching out the back of the body. Give your head a shake for sure. And I mean that in a nice way, not in the way that a parent says to their child, give your head a shake. Give your beautiful head a shake, everybody. Keep your belly muscles nice and strong and roll yourself up all the way. Okay, so we are somewhere in the middle of the mat. That's all good. I want you to actually make sure you are in the middle of your mat. We're going to step our right foot forward, step your left leg back. Your left heel is planted on the ground and your toes are coming in from the back edge of the mat. Your right foot is pointing pointing forward to the top of the mat. We're going to lunge. Bring yourself into warrior 2. I see somebody sending me a note. Oh, okay. I thought it was because you couldn't hear me. Oops. All right. So coming down, we are in warrior 2. Sorry about that. I got a little distracted. I'm always watching the screen to make sure there's no like warning, warning. Like last week or a couple weeks ago, everything went black. Anyways, doesn't matter. Holding here in warrior 2. Take a nice big breath. We are going to float that right palm up and straighten out your front leg. And come back. Float your right palm up and come back. Float your right palm up and come back. One more time, float your right palm up, hold here, and then bring yourself back. Warrior 2. Nice big deep breath. We're going to look forward, bring your hands either side of the front foot, step back into downward facing dog. Keeping your abdominal muscles nice and strong, let's float forward to a high plank. Press back into downward dog. Float forward to a high plank. Press back into downward dog. Float forward to a high plank. Press back into downward dog. And then this last time, float forward to a high plank. And remember, you can always bring your knees down, but we are gonna knees up or down, lower your belly down to the ground. Take your hands, interlace your fingers behind your back. We're gonna peel up through the chest, float up through the legs. Take a nice big breath. Your neck is long. You're drawing your abdominal muscles in. And then lower back down. Bring your hands beside your low ribs. Curl your toes under and either bring yourself back into child's pose or up into downward facing dog, where we're going to take 5 breaths. So downward facing dog for 5 breaths or child's pose for 5 breaths, whatever feels good for you. We are going to do that on the other side in a moment, but first we're just taking some breaks here. So 2 more breaths to go. And then please join again in downward facing dog. Once again, we're going to walk our hands and feet closer together to the center of the mat. Fold forward. Shake out your head again. Give your head a shake. Keep your belly engaged. And then we're going to keep our belly muscles strong, as I just said, and roll yourself all the way up. So now you're standing. Okay, take a couple breaths at the top, make sure that you feel okay. This time, we are going to step our left foot towards the back of the mat. You're going to plant your heel, toes coming in from the back edge of the mat. So we're going to be doing warrior 2. You're just facing in a different direction. So bend your knee. Make sure you can see your left big toe. Left arm forward, right arm back. Holding here. Coming in your warrior 2. It's okay. And now flip your palm, sweep back as you straighten out your leg, and sink back down, warrior 2. So a reverse warrior variation as you straighten out your leg and sink back down, warrior 2. Reverse warrior variation and sink back down. Last time. Holding here for an extra breath. And then we'll come back into warrior 2, where we'll hold here for an extra breath. Nice strong body, feeling the energy through the arms, just like we did at the very beginning when we were lying on our backs and sparkling out our fingers. Now looking forward to your left foot, so it's to the back of the mat. Bring your hands either side of the front foot, step back, high plank, and then downward dog. So we're going to float forward to a high plank and press back to downward dog. You're keeping your abdominal muscles nice and strong. Press forward to a high plank and downward dog. Press forward to a high plank and downward dog. And last one, press forward to a high plank. Remember, you can always bring your knees down if you want. Lower yourself down to the ground. Interlacing your hands behind your back, float your legs up, keep your neck nice and long, super strong back of the body. Holding here, squeeze your shoulder blades closer together and relax down. Bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, and oh my goodness, now we're in either child's pose or downward facing dog in the wrong direction. It's okay, we'll fix that. All right, so you're going to take 5 breaths here in downward dog or in child's pose, just like before. Child's pose people, maybe your wrists need a little stretch. You want to roll them out. Obviously, downward dog people, you can't do that unless you want to do a one-handed downward dog. Let's take 2 more breaths. So we are going to go through that a few times with a little bit of excitement. Hopefully, you can press play now on your favorite song. One of your favorite songs. So let's, everybody joining in downward dog, we're going to walk our feet towards our hands again. So once again, you're somewhere in the middle of the mat. Take a nice big stretch through the back of the body, breathing into the backs of your legs. Belly muscles are engaged. Roll yourself up, bringing yourself up to the top. Okay, coming into warrior 2. So you're facing the front of the mat. Right knee is bent, right arm is forward. Let's straighten up and sink back down. So you're keeping your abdominal muscles nice and strong here, lengthening and stretching into the side of your body. Moving into our hips a little more deeply each time. We have one more to go. So coming back, this one we'll hold for an extra breath. And then we'll come back into Warrior Two. You want to know the song I'm playing right now in the background? Shallow, Lady Gaga. Windmill your hands either side of the front foot, step back into a high plank, press back into downward dog, float forward, high plank, press back, downward dog, float forward, high plank, press back, downward dog, float forward, high plank, and lower yourself down to the ground. Interlace your hands behind your back, float up your legs, float up your chest, keep your core nice and strong, holding here. And relax back down. Bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under. You can either bring yourself back into downward dog or into child's pose. And taking one more breath. If you're in downward dog, walk your hands back to your feet. If you're in child's pose, bring yourself up. We're gonna roll ourselves up again, keeping your core nice and strong. And we're gonna switch positions, switching directions, I should say. Coming into Warrior Two now, facing the back of the mat. Left knee is bent, left arm is forward, looking over the left hand. It's nice to switch directions a little bit and kind of change things up. Plays with your mind, creates new neural pathways. Flip your palm, stretch up, sink back down. So remember, you're keeping your abdominals engaged. Stretch and lengthen, back down. We're also easing open our hips. And one more time. And come back into Warrior Two. Windmill your hands either side of the front foot. You're facing the back of the mat. You're gonna press up into downward dog. Float forward, high plank. Downward dog. Float forward, high plank. Downward dog. Float forward, high plank. Downward dog, and then we'll come forward into a high plank where we'll lower ourselves down, tops of the feet to the mat, and then we'll float up our strong legs, lift up through the chest. Again, keep your neck long. You should be looking down at the mat. Keep your abdominals engaged and relax back down. Bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, either come back through child's pose or downward facing dog. Okay, we're gonna do that one more time. We're gonna do it a little more smoothly, maybe a little bit faster. So if you are in child's pose, bring yourself back up into downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, people, walk your hands and feet to the middle of the mat. Everybody, with your strong abdominal muscles, roll yourself up. We are gonna face the top of the mat. Right leg forward, left foot back, Warrior Two. My right leg is bent, my right arm is forward. Float your palm and straighten out the front leg and back. And straighten out and back. And straighten out and back. And one more time, straighten out and back. Hands either side of the front foot, step back into downward facing dog. Remember, you can always be modifying in tabletop and back again. So you're keeping your body nice and strong as you float forward. And number 3. And last one, coming forward to a high plank. You choose how you want to lower down. Tops of the feet to the mat, float up. Super strong core, squeeze the glute muscles, and relax back down. Bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, maybe pressing back into downward dog or child's pose. We're not going to stay here for very long. Take one more breath. Join in downward dog, walk your hands and feet closer together. Belly muscles are strong. Roll yourself up, turning towards the back of the mat. Now you're coming into Warrior Two on the left side. Your left leg is bent. Hold for a breath, and then we'll flip the palm and straighten out. Our last time of doing this sequence, straightening out. So you're never trying to lock your knee. You're just trying to have nice, flowy movement, stretching, lengthening, creating lean muscle, breathing, and we'll come back into Warrior Two. Windmill your hands either side, step back. Downward facing dog. And if you'd like, float forward, high plank, and press back. And float forward, you're keeping your abdominals pulled in, and press back. You can feel lots of muscle movement every time to bring yourself back up into downward dog. Last one, come forward to a high plank, lowering down in chaturanga, coming up into your locust pose variation. Building our muscles in the back of the body one more time. And relax back down, bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, bring yourself back into child's pose, I would recommend. But if you feel like you need a lot more activity, stay in downward dog. I know you're facing the back of the mat. That's okay. Just stay in your child's pose. Give yourself a couple of extra breaths. And from here, we're going to bring ourselves up to a seated position. We're going to take a cross-legged position. If cross-legged doesn't work for you, just have your legs stretched out. And of course, if sitting and putting too much pressure on the hips doesn't feel good, you could always elevate your hips by sitting on a book, a block, a pillow, etc. Okay, so if you're able to, legs are crossed. I'll speak from it from this perspective. We're going to take a twist to the right. Pull yourself up nice and tall. We'll come back to center, twist over to the opposite side. Again, pull yourself up nice and tall. You're keeping your abdominal muscles engaged. There's some tension in the hips right now. It's by design. And we'll come back to center. Let's walk our hands forward any amount that you can. So if it's fingertips on the ground and this is giving you a pull in your hips, brilliant, that's okay. If you want to try and put your nose to the ground, awesome, go for it. It doesn't matter as long as you feel it. So if it's available to you, you can start to tuck your chin into your chest, pull your belly muscles in, and maybe roll your sits bones down on the ground, trying to just get a little extra stretch in your back. And we'll bring ourselves back up. We're going to switch the cross of the legs if you are doing this. And take your right hand to the ground, side bend. Such a theme for today, eh? Lots of this happening, but this pulls the junk out of the body. Let's come up and we'll go over to the other side. And all the way back up. We'll give ourselves one more chance to walk forward because we switched the cross of the legs, so it's going to feel a little bit different in the hips. Maybe there's more mobility, maybe not. Breathe nice and deeply. Nice big breath into your back. And then we'll change it up this time. As you climb back up, your legs are still crossed. I want you to just take your hands behind you. Perhaps it depends on if this works for your arms or not. Maybe bring your palms flat with your fingers pointing forward. You're going to get a little extra stretch in the wrist. If you have very short arms like I do, this is going to feel like a big stretch. If you have longer arms, you may not feel a stretch. But I want you just to pull your chest open, no matter what. Everybody's getting a nice big stretch or a stretch into the chest area. Give yourself another breath and we'll come back up. Okay. We're going to just give our legs a little bit of a shake for those that had them crossed. I'm going to just focus here a little bit more on twisting. I want you to drop both of your knees to the right. Both knees to the right. So knees are stacked, both knees to the right. You're going to take an open face twist now to the right. So both knees to the right, open face twist to the right. So you probably feel a little bit more pull and rotation, maybe even sort of radiating into your low back. I want you to keep your core pulled in and keep your shoulders nice and broad. Maybe even gently looking a little bit more towards the shoulder, but never pushing your neck hard. And we'll come back to center. You can just take a little counter twist to the other side, like baby twist. It's going to feel sort of awkward because the body finds it hard to go in this direction. And then we'll come back And I'll face forward again. So you're going to take your knees and you'll drop them to the left. So stacking your knees to the best of your ability, turning to the left, open belly twist to the left. Your hand can be wherever it needs to be. My left hand is supporting me. I'm lifting myself up a little bit taller. I'm using my left hand like a roller. So again, maybe drawing your chin a little bit more towards the left shoulder, but of course, never doing that in a way that is going to hurt you. And come all the way back to center. Okay, let's stretch our legs out one more time. Give them a little shake if they need that. And we're actually going to come forward here in a forward fold. Now, the first forward fold that you take can be your choice. Round your back, bend your knees, do whatever you want. Super rounded back. I don't care, whatever feels good for your body right now. I know we've done a lot of these fold forwards today, so hopefully that feels like you've loosened things up a little bit. We're going to come back up. The second one, if you can take your prop, we're going to place it at the bottom of the feet. So again, it's okay if your knees are bent, right? Because if it's not available to do that, but see how it works. See if you can grab onto the prop and then pull yourself in a little bit more deeply. If this is making you go, this is ridiculous, then don't worry about it. Go back to what you were doing. It's all okay. But maybe you enjoy trying this out and you're like, okay, this is kind of neat. Who knows? Every once in a while, I throw this in. And we'll bring ourselves back up. Okay, we're still going to use the prop a little bit longer, as I alluded to. I would like you to lie down on your back. This is something I did in one of my classes this week. It's a gentle strengthening, movement for our hips, our glutes, and our core. So we're going to have our feet in bridge pose. So your feet are hip distance apart. Should just be able to touch the backs of your heels. I want you to take your block and you're going to step on it, your block or your book, with your right foot. Okay, so we're trying to strengthen our hips, strengthen our back, strengthen our belly. And this is one of many poses that we can do. So we are going to lift our hips up, but you probably feel a little bit like uneven. I want you to try your best to have your hips level. Holding here. I want you to experiment with two things. First, engage your glute muscle, maybe both of them, it doesn't matter, and then try to soften them and feel the different transition of where the work is happening, how it transitions to different muscle groups. Okay, so we'll hold here a little bit longer. If anything hurts you, doesn't feel good, then you're going to come back down. And we'll lower back down. Okay. We're going to do this a couple more times. So inhale, lifting up. Again, trying to keep your hips level. Now this time, I want you to lower down halfway, lift back up. We'll do this 4 more times. Lower down halfway, lift back up. Lower down halfway, lift back up. Lower down halfway, lift back up. I think this is number 5, lower down halfway, lift back up, and then come all the way down. And you're going to stretch your left leg out onto the ground. Take your right leg, stretch it up in the air. Give your ankles some lovely rolls. Point and flex your foot. Now we're going to rebend the left leg, flex your right foot, cross your ankle, your right ankle over your left thigh. And if it's available to you, you're going to bend your legs and grab your left thigh. If you feel the stretch just by staying right here, that's fantastic. Okay, so we're going to take 4 more breaths like this. So we're trying to stretch into the glute muscle, stretch into your hip. You might feel a little bit of a stretch in your back. We'll take 1 more breath. We're still going to be working with this right leg. I want you to stretch your left leg out on the ground. You're holding your right leg here. One hand is on your knee, one hand is on your heel. Just give your leg a little bit of a rock from side to side, just like you're rocking a baby. And you're going to grab onto your ankle with your left hand. Step your foot over the body. So this should feel like an additional stretch in the glute area, in your hip area, up into maybe your waist, in your low back. But it shouldn't feel exactly the same as it did a minute ago because we're pulling on some different muscle groups. So if you're able to have your foot flat on the ground, great. If your foot kind of hovers in the air because it's too tight and you can't touch the ground, that's okay. Some of you who come to my classes, to a lot of my classes will know this pose, and there's, you just got to play with it and just sort of find what works for you. If you find that it's a really easy pose, you can try to pull your pull your foot up closer to your face, like higher alongside the body, and continue to push your hip down to the ground. Anyways, we'll take another breath and we'll release the leg. Give it a little shake. You can kind of grab your prop here to let your leg relax. So we're going to do all the same things to the other side. Bring your feet flat to the ground. Back into your bridge pose variation. Take your block or your book, place it underneath your left foot. And we'll give it a try on this side. So lifting up your hips, trying to keep them even. So this is our first round of this, just sort of exploring. And then same thing as before. So you have to kind of negotiate. You want your hips to be level. You're trying to negotiate. Okay, how does it feel here if you soften your glute muscles? And then if you engage them, you probably were engaging them already, especially on the right side. So holding here, taking another breath. And we'll start to come back down. So we'll do one more movement, one more series. We took the time, okay. We're gonna inhale and lift up. And we'll do the same thing we did before. We're gonna lower down halfway and lift back up. And we'll do this 4 more times. Lower down halfway and lift back up. So very precise movement. You can feel lots of stuff going on. Lower down halfway and lift back up. Lower down halfway, lift back up. One more time, lower down halfway, lift back up, and then come all the way down to the ground. We'll stretch the right leg out. Allow that leg to just relax. We're going to take the left leg up in the air, roll your ankle, squeeze and release your toes, get any tightness out. We're going to rebend the right leg. Keep your left foot flexed, cross your ankle over your thigh. Pausing here, in thread the needle. Maybe this is a great place to stay, or you're going to grab your right thigh and pull the leg towards you. So we'll stay here for 5 breaths. We're stretching out the work that we did today. Just taking nice big deep breaths. Maybe listening to your favorite music in the background. Anything that puts a smile on your face, right? That's why we're all here. And release your leg. You can stretch the right leg out one more time, and you're going to hold on to your left leg. So you have one hand on your heel, one hand on your knee, keeping your foot flexed, and maybe just do a couple of these little rocks, just nice little rocking from side to side, rocking your baby leg, I call it. And then you're going to grab onto your ankle, step your foot over, and take this additional stretch because it gathers up some different muscles than what you just did before, what you just stretched out before. So you know the routine, you know that if you need to ease up, then you will. It's hurting your knee, etc. Let's all try and take some deep breaths. I feel like I want to go back to my song that I was playing before, Shallow. I always like to repeat songs over and over again. My brother and sister know that. When growing up, I played songs 100% over and over. Anyways. We'll take one more breath. And we're going to release the leg. We'll do the same thing we did before, just kind of push your prop out of the way, but let your leg stretch out. Give it some shakes. I want you to bring your arms over your head, interlace your fingers. We're going to take one more stretch through the shoulders and the chest. I know I always try to keep this class at 45 minutes, but I do have a time problem as well. It is hard to follow the time. Bring your arms back alongside your body. Let's hug our knees into our chest. And I literally also want you to lift your head and shoulders up and give yourself a hug. Give yourself a hug. Seriously, we all need a hug. Say something nice to your knees. Let's come back down to the ground. We'll stretch our legs out. Let your arms relax alongside your body. Turn your palms to face up. I know I said we were gonna maybe do a breathing exercise. We don't have time. We'll do it another time. But let's close our eyes. I want you to give yourself 10 seconds to just let your practice absorb in your body. Just download your practice. All right, start to just wiggle your fingers and your toes. I know we're doing it again, but bring your arms over your head. This time we're gonna add along with stretching through our fingers all the way down to our toes. We are gonna breathe in a gigantic breath and exhale it out, letting out all your junk, anything remaining. One more breath in, exhaling out, and we'll bring ourselves over and up, taking your time to do this. Hands to the heart. Guys, thank you for joining me. Hang in there, okay? We're all in this together. Hang in there. Have a wonderful Saturday. Namaste. Please join me for any other classes during the week that I offer, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Thank you.